Oliver from Rugby League, in my opinion, here, and welcome back to another Rugby League, in my opinion, interview. Today, I'm joined with USA International, host of the Any Given Monday podcast, and a man who has played in multiple different countries around the world. Good mate of mine, Kristian Freed. How are you today, Freedy?
Good, Ollie. How you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Look,
Mate, I wouldn't say I'm the host. I'd call Righty more of the host. I'm kind of like that sucker fish that just sits on the side of that great white shark, just getting tailed through the stories, you know?
Well, isn't it Any Given Monday podcast featuring the right man? Like, isn't he meant to be the side guy anyway? So
no, he's the main guy. If we didn't have him, we wouldn't have any fucking rugby league knowledge. Besides, like Dano, he goes right. I've never met anyone that knows as much rugby league as that guy. And then you got Dano as compared to me, he's a kid still, and the amount of rugby league that kid knows. He came on once just as a guest, and I said, Righty, I go, we just got to have him full time, because between yous two, I don't have to say anything. I can just chuck a dick joke in here and there, and then it's fine, you know. So that, like, those two, they just bounce off each other, and yeah, that's why. And I wanted to say veteran right man, because everyone like around this area knows the right man. They love the right man. So yeah.
Well, Righty's been messaging me a fair bit lately, just, random footy stuff, whatever we've been talking. But he messaged me, said he's coming to Sydney grand final weekend, and said we need to catch up for a drink.
Mm-hmm.
What's Righty like after a few drinks? Still that footy encyclopedia, or
mate? 100%. If anything, I think the alcohol like switches something in his brain that he extends to another level. Like, if there's some facts that he might have forgot, that beer just makes him hit it. Like like you'll be sitting at the bar with him, and then like some fucking 60-year-old will walk past. He goes, that guy played in a Division 3 grand final back in 1970 and scored the winning try, and you're like, okay, all right, I don't give a fuck. But anyway, right, he's unbelievable, and he doesn't change on the piss. He gets a bit talkative, which is saying a lot, because he fucking talks all the time anyway. But he's just the same, and he never gets when he gets carried away, you wouldn't even know it, you know.
Yeah, well, first question is actually one sent in by a good friend of both of ours. I messaged him a couple of hours ago. I said, I'm interviewing Freedy tonight. Anything you want to ask? That man, of course, is Nate Gladden from Rugby League in America.
Yeah, love Nate.
I'll get it up so I want to make sure I get it right. He asked, ask him if he's sharing shirts with his daughter now.
Yeah, so Nate always has a dig at me about my tight clothing. I do like, especially when I took Nate to the Broncos Leagues Club, and I think I got the small singlet. Like, Nate bought it for me, and Nate got the medium, even though we're around the same size body. Yeah, so, but no, not yet. I think I'll start sharing them when I reckon about 6 or 7, we could start sharing. Like, she's only 4 at the moment. She did get a new Eminem shirt for her 4th birthday. I think I could squeeze into that one, though.
Wait, Eminem the rapper or Eminem the chocolates?
Nah, Slim Shady. Yeah, so when I'm driving around, I listen to either country or rap, and Lakin loves a bit of Eminem as well. So.
All right, awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into a bit of actual footy talk now. And I guess we'll sort of start at the beginning, because, as I said, you are a USA international, but obviously you can tell from your accent you're Australian primarily. Yep. So one could assume you grew up here. You come from where you're living now, right? The Brisbane area.
Brizzy.
Yeah. You grew up, you played for West Mitchie growing up. They were your junior club?
Yeah, so junior club, I started at West Mitchie in under 11s. That was my first year. Before that, obviously, my parents were pushing me into soccer in the non. But I went to a pretty public school that was primarily rugby league, and then so obviously to join my mates, I had to go over and play footy. And so I started West Mitchie, and that's why it's kind of come full circle, because now I'm back at West Mitchie. But they were my junior club. I only had to leave them for 1 year in under 17s to go play a better competition A grade. And the only team that was doing that was, we call them cocksuckers, but it's Arana. They're just around the corner from us. So they're like our main rivals.
Yeah.
But besides that, all my juniors was through West Mitchie, and then going through the West system from there.
Yeah, when we spoke a couple of months ago for Everything Rugby League, when we did the interview for them, you talked a bit about how you played for West before moving on to Colts. Now, that's sort of a Queensland junior rugby league thing. We don't have that over here in New South Wales. So tell us a bit about Colts. Is that West Arana?
So no, I think Colts. I might be way off for this, but I
Yeah.
think Colts is like your flag, like it's under
Right.
It's under 19.
So that's SG ball. Yeah.
SG ball. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, so Colts is not a Rana or a Mitchie or anything. Colts is so as West, we have West Mitchie, and then we've got West Arana, and there's West Centenary, and we all fold under the
What,
if you
Brisbane
go back in the
Panthers.
the West
Yeah.
Brisbane Panthers now, but back in the day when it was like the Southeast Queensland comp, that it was West's out of Pertel Park, they were who you wanted to play for as a junior. And so
Right.
that was they're not out of Pertel Park anymore, but they're still Wests, and that's who we went to Colts. And Colts was where you kind of stepping stone from Colts to your Fogs and then your Queensland Cup. So you play Colts until you're under 19s, and then you hopefully get picked up by a Queensland Cup club.
Right. Well, speaking of sort of Fogs and Queensland Cup, you would actually go on to play a bit of Fogs and Queensland Cup, I believe, for the Sunshine Coast Sea Eagles, who everyone would now know today as the Sunshine Coast Falcons. Now, again, you're going to have to educate me a bit here. Pretty much everyone knows what Queensland Cup is, the Intrust Super Cup, but tell us a bit about Fogs.
Okay, so Fogs is reserve grade. So right now in Queensland we call Fogs BRL now.
Right.
So it goes reserve grade, BRL, and then Queensland Cup. But Fogs is your I think you guys call it Jim Beam Cup down there.
It's either the Sydney Shield or Ron Massey Cup. We got a couple of competitions
whatever is underneath New South Wales Cup, that's Fogs.
Well, it's weird. I think it's sort of both of them. It's weird. It's either one of the two, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So I played. Yeah, when I wasn't. So I went up there, and I remember my first year at we only had a Fogs team at Sunny Coast because we were building for a Queensland Cup side. So I went up there because I knew a coach. I knew a player of the coach, and he said that to reach out to me because I was a hooker halfback that I was looking to leave Wests. And so he reached out to me, and then I went up there to play Fogs. And I had a couple mates in the side as well that were great players, and they shout out to Chris Chasty, but he brought me up there kind of too, and so I went up there, and then we were waiting for the year after to get the go ahead for a Queensland Cup side, and that first Queensland Cup side were linked up with Manly, so Manly is sending back 8-9 boys each week, and so we're getting Hodgkinson back, and then the year after that we're getting Cherry Evans back, and those kind of positions that are my kind of positions kept me in Fogs for a while, and then until I cracked it into Queensland Cup playing from not as my fullback role, but on the wing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your position wise, right? So as we were talking about before this, I actually first learnt of you from the Rugby League Live 4 video game. I think I did a career mode or I did something with the USA and you're in the side.
Yeah.
Now, in that game, I believe you're a halfback, but I've heard that you can play like hooker, you play fullback. Are you sort of a Kurt man? Can you play anywhere in the spine? Pretty much. Like, what would you say is your primary position?
Mate, I would, as a career position goes, I'd call myself a utility. My position, my main position going through juniors to my Colts, I was always a fullback, and then I realized like I had after I had 2 knee reconstructions, and then I kind of realized that I also had to work on some other positions, because once speed is king. So once you start to lose a bit of speed, and that goes away. So I just feel like I've played 1 week in Fogs for Brandon Costin. I don't know if you know Costo, heard of Costo. I think he's coaching the Fijian side now. But he was my first Fogs coach. But he 1 week he'd asked me to play lock, and then the next week I'm playing hooker, then I'm playing halfback, and I'm playing fullback, and so now I just and it's kind of it luckily enough, it got me to play in some of the teams that I got to play in just because of that utility option that I give them. But preferably, I do like fullback and hooker. I fucking hate halfback, and I'm especially with opens now. Just playing with my mates, I'm caught in that halfback position a lot. But I just find that it's way too much organising, and the pressure comes back on you, and I fucking hate that shit.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah. But I just like utility anyway. I just anywhere on the field, I love playing.
Awesome, man. Well, after your stint at the Sunshine Coast, I believe you actually went over to France, played a bit of Elite One
Yeah.
with what was the name of the team? Starts with an L. So
Lescure.
unprofessional of me.
Yeah,
Lescure.
no, it's all
Right.
good. Lescure, yeah. So
Lescure.
they're Lescure Minotaurs, and that was with help of my boy Mark Offerdale got me over there with the help of Kim Ingebrigtsen.
Yep.
They were looking for a Lescure were looking for they had a quote of that year for they wanted 3 Aussies, and they wanted a halfback. And lucky enough, the couple weeks before I sent a video. I had a trial against East for Sunny Coast, and I played halfback, and I played a half decent game. So I sent that one video of me playing halfback, even though I was playing fullback that year.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we'll take him. So we went over there, and I went over there, and we got. I was in the worst team in the comp, like Lescure. We didn't do very well, but that Elite One competition is fairly. I'd say it's in between. It's in between Fogs and Queensland Cup. I'd say
Okay.
the really good Elite One teams would be lower level Queensland Cup sides, and so we were kind of like we were just making up the numbers that year, but they were trying to build. They did just come up from Elite Two, but it was great to be a part of anyway, mate. It's unbelievable going over there and experiencing like just having to play rugby league for a living. So.
Oh yeah. So did you play halfback while you were in France?
Yeah, had to play
Yeah.
halfback at the start again, mate. And then I talked the coach into letting me play a bit of fullback in the end of it. So, but yeah, at the start of halfback, I put on a lot of weight. It's a different style of game over there. It's a bit slower, but it's a bit rougher. Like I'd never been squirrel gripped so much in my life.
Right.
Especially when I played Offerdale, but he's Aussie, so I don't know why the fuck he'll squirrel grip with me. But yeah, but it's just it's a good tough kind of game. Like for instance, if the boys would punch on the field, and as soon as that punch on finished, it's just back to business. They don't even think twice about it. After the game, you all have beers together. It's a great style of footy over there. It kind of toughens you up as well.
That's awesome. What were the crowds sort of like over there in France? Because I can't. It's weird because traditionally rugby league is like has a great history in France, but over the years, due to like the emergence of rugby union, etc., it's sort of gone down a bit. But you've got teams like Toulouse and the Catalans in the English system. So I wonder what were the crowds, and I guess what was the overall support like for the league?
Mate, it's especially in that southern part. They really do. There's areas that really do live and breathe it. So but they are very cutthroat. So I remember sitting in there was one about 4 weeks into the competition, and we'd won one, and then we lost 3 in a row. And then so the president got us into me and the 2 other Aussies into the his office, and asked the coach whether we should send them back to Australia because they're not doing anything for us. And our coach,
Right.
who spoke very good so very good English,
Yeah.
he was like, "No, we fucking need these guys. You know, if we lose them by 20, if they're gone, we're losing by 50." You know,
Right.
so they're very like white and black, and they're just like, well, they're not doing the job, just send them home. But
Right.
then again, besides that kind of politics stuff, the crowd gets behind you, even if you're losing. You have there's a lot of traditional nights that you do, and just the league really brings everyone together, and just and it's funny because it's just in that south of France, and you eventually other out competition, and it's all rugby union or soccer.
Yeah.
But I remember one time I got pulled over drink driving. I went straight to a roundabout, and the cop was like, "Oh, you play for Lescure," and he's like, "All right, just make sure you drive slow home and get there, right?"
Really.
Yeah, we're in it's like small villages, you know, like so it's everyone kind of knows each other.
Well, that's sort of like in the north of England, right, where rugby league is obviously huge. It's a professional sport over in the Super League, obviously, as well. But it's sort of like I know a couple of people who have at least been over there for a while for different reasons, going for a holiday or, going to actually do stuff in rugby league. They say like a lot of the towns, they're in sort of clusters. So you've got like the likes of Wigan, St Helens, like Salford, they're sort of in that cluster, like that Merseyside sort of Manchester area. Then northeast, Yorkshire, of course, you got like Leeds, all those different teams sort of in that small area. And they're like small sort of village clubs like Castleford, Wakefield and that.
Yeah.
So I guess could you sort of draw that comparison? It's like sort of like a cluster of little towns where they are really supportive. Yeah.
And obviously you get, you probably got it lined up, Ollie, but once you get like offered Owl or like cause on here to talk about that, because they've actually played in those comps over there, but that North UK, and we were based in Widnes in that 2013, and that whole Widnes area got behind us, even though we're just USA, but we were trading out the Widnes facilities and stuff. But it's the same kind of thing. Up north is your rugby league, and then you come down to your union and your soccer and stuff like that. But but like I said, like Cause and Offerdale could definitely tell you some good stories about how different it is in when you venture north to south.
Yeah, well, Offerdale's recently agreed to do an interview with me for ERL, so we'll have to get talking, and I'll bring that up. But speaking of the USA, following your stint in France for Lescure, you went and played for Connecticut it was the AMNRL. Wasn't it you and Offerdale? What was that like?
It was great, mate. Like, so we went from France, and then I went home for my engagement party. So we went home for a couple of, I'd say it'd be about a month all up, and then me and Offerdale flew back to Connecticut, and it was a good experience. It's obviously you're going over there as a player, but also coaching these guys and exposing them to the game of rugby league. And it's been said a lot, but once they experience rugby league over there compared to rugby union, they're like, oh, no, this is the shit. Like, this is what I want to play. I want this reload. I want these sets, and then we kick. And the similarities to gridiron, so they see that and they're like, no, this is this impact that we're doing, this reload and impact. This is awesome. So me and Offerdale, we kind of we got to stay at the one place, and we got real lucky with one of our best mates, Phil Schachter. We lived with in his house. He had a nice big house, and we got to stay in Greenwich, which is one of the nicest suburbs in America. And we just trained, just trained, did cardio, fucking did a fair bit of peptides, and just got our bodies good, and just that whole experience. The boys in Connecticut, especially with the Wildcats, they're a tight knit group, and they're a great bunch of mates. So we just came into a group that was a great bunch of mates. So that was one of my best experiences, like through rugby league, was that Connecticut year. Even though the competition isn't that good, but you just you're trying to help develop the game over there. So and it was going, I believe it was going a lot better when AMNRL was in charge, even though it started slowing down. But they would have, it's sad to see what happened with the USARL and the AMNRL not coming together and making something together, I believe.
Yeah, just on what you were saying about sort of rugby league being seen as a better sport than union, I have to agree. And that's a really frustrating thing, not only with America, but as I said before, France and stuff, that a lot of people, they get into rugby union. Rugby union is growing in America right now too. And you sort of just watch this modified, better version of it, with all due respect to rugby union fans. And it reminded me of something. I think Nate definitely said it. I think it might have been on one of his podcasts. He was talking about how a lot of the rugby union teams over there, or at least I believe he coached a university union team. One of the training drills that they do is called league rules, and they do a quick pickup game, and it's rugby league rules, but the players don't even know what rugby league is. They just think it's this little training thing that they do. that they don't realize there's a whole sport. So there's so much potential for growth there. Yeah, man. We'll get on to
that's right. And
your first
the
World
thing
Cup.
is just yeah, Ollie, sorry,
Yeah.
just to cut you off there. But the thing with union is obviously what's happened is it's got into the university and college systems.
Yeah.
Rugby's in the college, so that helps that promotes the game so much. You know, like if league was that's like sevens. You know, sevens they love it so much because it's an Olympic thing, and rugby union is because it's a college thing as well. So if league could sneak its way in there somewhere, I swear to God, you know, you'd have more bums on seats watching that kind of competition.
Definitely. We'll move on now to your first World Cup, 2013, with the US. It's a Rugby League World Cup, right? Like, how do you explain the experience, especially in 2013? You guys got to the quarterfinals against Australia. You did end up getting beaten, you know, quite heavily, but even that experience, like getting to play on the same field as those guys, it must have been something. Just like, if you can, how can you sort of explain that whole experience, that World Cup for the US, getting to the quarterfinals?
Mate, it was obviously. So it's funny because this is a shameless plug, but I was just reading Bergs' new book, Maroon
Robert
Mentality.
Bergen.
Robert Bergen, he just brought that out, and I was reading Darren Lockyer's bit in it, obviously because I'm a Darren Lockyer dick rider, but he talks about Ryan McGoldrick went to the same primary school as Lockyer. And McGoldrick was over playing Super League, but he's also American citizen, and he was meant to be my roommate in that first World Cup because he was the older fullback and I was the younger fullback. McGoldrick never ended up coming into camp. So I got the trial against France first up at fullback without that kind of competition, and I had a pretty solid game, which kind of set me up for that whole. So my mum and dad, I was honest with them, and I go, guys, look, I'm probably going to be coming off that bench in that utility spot, but because McGoldrick didn't end up coming into camp, I got to kind of show off at fullback and kind of solidified my spot a bit. Also because Corey Maitland broke his leg in Parramatta, and I probably would have been riding pine if that motherfucker was there too because he's a freak. But anyway, so but that whole experience, mate, and when you look back on it, like it's not it's not like the setting up to play Australia. It's I think about the memories of like that whole camp, and that because we got to the quarterfinals, then we got to spend another 2 weeks together and do another 2 weeks of camp together, and that's the kind of stuff that you take away from it. Like we had I think we had 4 NRL players in that side, 3 or 4, and it's like just hanging around those guys and then getting that experience and extending that trip and I remember one of the funniest things was we did one-on-one video sessions, right? So I go to box. Terry Madison calls me down for my one-on-one against Australia, and obviously we're talking about Billy Slater, and he's like, "So Freedy, you're really going to have to watch Billy Slater." So when we're at the back of the scrum, and you see what he's doing, and I had like out of body experience because I'm looking down at like myself talking about what we're going to do when we're playing against Billy Slater. He's one of my idols as well, and I was just like, "This is fucking amazing, man! I wish I filmed that. I wish I filmed that one-on-one video session." There's just stuff like that. It's just and I like I always say, I think about people that would kill to be in my shoes, and that's why I take it so seriously, and I want to try to put my like everything into it because I was lucky enough to have a passport and be a dual citizen and get that experience and that kind of thing. So but
that Australia game, right? If I can ask specifically about that, as you said, you went up against your idol Billy Slater.
Yeah.
What was that game like to you? I don't know. It just seems like, for the US to get to those heights versus the team who went on to win it with against the best players in the world. I guess I asked, was part of it, even though you lost, was it like a surreal experience in itself? Because obviously when you're on there, it's game time, right? You have to sort of treat them like anyone else you'd verse.
100%.
But does that sort of creep in, you're like, wow, do you need to soak it in a bit? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, really do. Like, I remember before we're warming up, we go out onto the field and we get to play at Wales again, and that crowd was behind us because we spanked Wales to get to be there, and then so they jumped forward with us because they're like, fuck our team, they stink. And then yeah, but anyway, so we get to the and we're warming up, and I'm taking bombs from our halves, and they're putting up spirals and stuff for me just to practice. And I'm looking over, and Billy Slater's taking his catches as well.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. We're both just working on our catching game together. And that's the kind of stuff I soak in is I look over, Billy's doing his thing, I'm doing mine. We're out on the same field warming up together. And then you go into the sheds and you come out, and that's when it's game time. You know, like that's when, and not to say that I don't think Australia took us lightly at all. Like they turned like they put our foot on our throats and like pressed down, but it's hard to believe, but they were better than I thought they would be. You think you're going to win the ground or find the ground in a tackle, and you don't. Cameron Smith's a fucking robot. He's a rugby league playing robot, and you're close to the ground to try to get the play ball, and then you're on your back because of his wrestle and that kind of thing. I remember running the ball back twice from a kick return, and I'd pick out. I was like, okay, so there's Thaiday and there's Papali. I might try Thurston, and I'll try get a bump on Thurston, and he just annihilates me, mate. It's but then from the back, I get to watch some of my boys doing some things against the best players in the world, and I'm like, oh, it's so fucking awesome to watch. Like, you know, us get a jump. There was about a 20-minute period, about 10 minutes before halftime and after halftime, that we actually created a bit of an arm wrestle, like and to be in a tiny bit of an arm wrestle with those boys. It's that's the stuff you take out of it. You take out of those small chunks, not the overall outcome. Yeah.
Well, I remember last year I was at the World Nines. That game against Australia, that was probably my favourite memory from the tournament. Although Australia went on to win, that Ryan Burrows try, man, I was cheering on the USA. I'm a proud Australian. I love my country, but because Australia is, you know, that top level side in international rugby league, pretty much anyone they come up against, barring probably maybe England or New Zealand, I'm cheering for the others. So when Ryan Burrows scored that try, and at halftime USA had the lead, in that moment I was genuinely thinking, "Holy shit, the boys are going to go on with it," which would have been awesome. Like,
it was it was good. It was, but like I said, it's. You want to step up, like we should have stepped up for all games, but Nines is a beast of a game, and especially when you're playing like those freaks. Like, what was our first game? Was our first game Fiji or PNG?
It was Friday night. It was the last game.
Papua New Guinea, and then we knew that. I thought Papua New Guinea was the game that we could be most competitive with, because you know they're shorter side. They're usually stocky. They might run out of a bit of gas, and then we come against Australia, and we threw it all out there in that first half. And then I was lucky enough to jag that try off the goalpost when Ponga hit it, and he tackled the goalpost instead of getting the ball. But
that's right,
and then but it's like I felt like we left it all out there on that Australian game. Then come against New Zealand, who were like born and bred for Nines rugby league. They just fucking carved us up. It was and just you gas, mate. Like, and that's the good thing about Nines is they give you 30 seconds to kick the goal, and then you got to get back and kick it off within a minute. It's a different style of footy, and especially with our group of players now pushing, you know, we're early 30s, majority of us trying to play that Nines game, which is that early 20s, those 20 boys, you know.
Yeah. Well, you're a bit lucky you had Ronaldo Mulatalo in for that tournament, because he, especially in that Australia game, he was playing like a bit of half. I think he was the fullback too. Like he had a really good game. Okay, then I guess which game, I guess you sort of prefer that Nines game, right, against Australia, or which I guess are you more proud of? You know, okay, we versed Australia in the World Cup, but we took it to them in the nines. What's your sort of the memory that you like the most out of those two? Is there one that sort of jumps out or?
Yeah, mate. I'd always say the 13s. Like I'd always say the 13s style of game. Yeah, there's moments in that 13s game that I just remember, and I'll remember forever. Like there's some funny things where I kicked it on the third tackle through to Beretta, and I got my head ripped off so much, and everyone was calling me third tackle kick, but because it went dead.
Yeah.
But it's just and that I believe that Australia side that we played in 2013 is one of the better Australian sides you're going to see for a long time. That was when Jared Hayne in the centres was obviously he destroyed that whole competition. You had Slater, you still had your Thaidays, your Greg Inglis's, and it was just great to play against them. And it's now turned, and that was because I was 26 then, and I was still looking up to those boys. And now and you'll find it, Ollie, as you get older, you're looking up to players that are younger than you, even though you still look up to them, but they're young freaks. And I was looking up to guys that were still older than me, and I'd watched growing up because like your Slaters and stuff started so early.
Yeah, well, I'm going on 20 this month, right? And recently I've been interviewing a few players who are like younger than me. Like I've done a couple SG Ball interviews, a couple of young English guys coming through. And when I'm doing the research for these interviews, like I obviously know I'm young, but I interviewed someone who had captained England to a series victory in like the under 16s against Australia a couple of years ago, like stuff like that. And I was thinking, what was I doing when I was 16? Fart assing around in school. So there you go. We go from the 2013 World Cup, 2017 World Cup. Not the best tournament for you guys, but are there any real takeaways you got from there that, any enjoyable memories, stuff that sort of jump out to you from that tournament specifically?
Definitely the Papua New Guinea game. I loved going over there and playing PNG. That they came into Queensland Cup the year that I left and went over to France. So I never got to play over there, but playing over there was unreal in front of a sold out stadium. They don't give a fuck if Papua New Guinea's winning or losing. They're just cheering for rugby league.
Yeah.
And that was a real big highlight of mine. We got absolutely pumped. It felt like I was playing in a fucking sauna. I think I never made so many attempted tackles in my life.
Right.
But I think I also kicked a 40-20, but I swear I kicked it from about the 45, and the ref just gave it to us because he was like, "You guys need something," so he gave us the 40-20, even though I wasn't inside. So that stands out. And also like Macca being coach, I appreciate him as a coach, and you do learn stuff off him, and that's what I like about learning from all these different coaches, and especially the high caliber coaches that we learn off. I just think it proves though that to develop a nation in a sport, you do need to rely on your heritage players, and then you slowly drip your domestic players into it, and they totally flip the script, and that's the USARL, that's on them, and they flip the script, and that's the outcome that happens. And now we're not in the World Cup for the next World Cup. Even though we played very good against the Cook Islands in that trial, like in the qualifier, but still it shouldn't have been the team that they had and the team that we could have had. We should still be in the World Cup.
Well, I'm going to bring up something here that I know that you sort of don't like. 2013, you guys are the Tomahawks. 2017, as you can see from my jersey here, the USA Hawks. You weren't a huge fan of that name change. Give us a little insight as to why.
I just think in 2013 we kind of we were working towards, like, we did so well, and we did so unexpectedly well that it was a brand that they could have kind of built off. The rugby union side's called the Eagles, and then I find the Hawk is just like a is like kind of the it's the
You're
it's
taking the
the
Tomer away from the
more
Hawks,
yeah, and it's the more
pretty
average
much.
bird of a it's the more average bird of an eagle. It's
Yeah,
the so I and so I felt like you had to keep the Tomahawks as the logo and the name. It's yeah, and by changing that and then going from scratch, and now we're trying to say, oh, it's the Rugby League Hawks, and then people thinking, oh, but I thought the last competition they were in, they were the Tomahawks. And
yeah,
I just think it was, as business wise goes, I think it was a stupid decision. I did love the name the Tomahawks, and also I did love the jerseys that we played in that year, just simple logo, and then they changed it all up, and we get too flashy, and we got a freaking bird that's wearing a bandana. Like, where did this bird? How did he put a bandana on? Like, it's fucking crazy, man. And why? And why has he got a bandana on? Like, he's
why?
not an out. Yeah, it's just it does my head in. But anyway, it's I
Anyway,
appreciate every game I played for him. I appreciate it, but I
yeah,
just they shouldn't have changed the name, and they should have sorted it out with the AM and RL.
yeah. One last USA based question: if you're asked to play for them again, would you, or are your international days over? You reckon?
Um, No, well, this COVID thing kind of fucks shit up. We were
Right.
looking at trying to do something in Cali, and we're gonna do a Tomahawks reunion game against the best, like what California could offer, like the Cali
Yeah.
Bears or whatever.
Yeah.
And that would me and all the boys were like me and the Howie brothers and all of us Cantoni were all putting our hands up to do that, and that's put that in the mud. I always will play like if I I'd be hoping at this age that um, I always said in 2013 that by 2017, I hope that I'm sitting on the bench because we've developed players that are pushing us out of positions. That didn't happen, but until I stop playing, this is meant to be my last year, but this kind of year's been fucked around. And then I think on the weekend, I think I tore the ligament down in my finger. So I think I need
Yeah.
microsurgery on that. So I'm going to push another year, and we'll see if there's any games come up. I'll definitely always put my hand up to play for the USA, even if it's off our own money, which we always usually do anyway. So.
Awesome, man. Well, the return to West Mitchie, how's that been since you've been back at the club? Obviously, your current club. Now you get to play with the likes of Dane, of course, Dane
Yeah,
Adams.
yeah,
Obviously famous rugby league player himself.
yeah.
Unfortunately, he's injured as well. But yeah, what's it been like back at Mitchie, playing for that childhood club? Come sort of full
Uh,
circle.
it's awesome, mate. Like after the 2013, I came back and had a year off because of like family reasons, and then that year off really killed me. Like it was, I developed an addiction, and I think it was because I wasn't around the boys, and I kind of slumped into a very low, and so I thought, fuck this. I want to get back to West Mitchie and try to get a team together that we can win. I've never won a grand final ever before 2015, and so I was like, I want to get a group of boys together and try to win a comp. So I called on some of my ex Q Cup players that I played with, and then with a nucleus of West Mitchie boys, and we put together a team that won the comp, and it really like that camaraderie and all that really dragged me out of but the addictive habits that I
Yeah.
had, and it really brought me back, and just playing at West Mitchie again, it's fucking hilarious, mate. You go down to training on a Tuesday and Thursday, and you know that you're going to be getting bagging each other out, but we do train hard, and you got the likes of Righty as one of the coaches,
Yeah.
and
Level two.
level 2 coach, mate. So it's just boys that like I'd say 75% of them, like 25% of them, I couldn't give a fuck about. But 75% of them, you have a beer with them every night of the week, and it's a great atmosphere, and to be able to be playing at your junior club is a great thing, and like look, Dano's fucking, I forget how young he is, and I forget how old I am. And when we all get together, and I'm the older one in the team now, and it's crazy. But it's just so good to just be amongst it, and that's why it's going to be hard to give it up, because those weeks that we win and we're singing the same dressing sheds, it's fucking unbelievable. But it kills me when we lose. It ruins my whole fucking weekend.
Well, that's good, man. That passion's really good.
Yeah.
Last topic before we finish off. I got to bring it up. Any Given Monday, the podcast that you, Dano, and Righty, who we've mentioned, are a part of. Give us a bit of an idea of, how that all came together. Any Given Monday in the beginning, sort of. Well, I know obviously I'm a weekly listener and question sender inner. But let people know what the podcast is about, what you can expect, etc. So how did it all begin to start?
Okay, well, so what happened is it was seriously as simple as we were on obviously our teams, we all have chats, like we have our messenger chats that we're all a part of. And I think someone might have been talking about the Matty Johns podcast, or maybe even Bloke in a Bar. And someone said, Righty, when are you dropping your podcast? And Righty said, as soon as Freedy does one with me. And then I jumped on board and I said, Righty, because I've got all this shit. I had all this equipment already here, because I used to do a podcast with one of my mates that wasn't sports related. But and I go, mate, I got all this shit here. As soon as you want to do one, let's come over and do it. So the first episode was just me and Righty sitting at a table doing it. And I enjoyed it so much. And it was also, again, another like realization of how much knowledge Righty knows about the game. And I was like, Righty, we got to keep doing this, because our first episode got 200 streams, and I don't even promote it, because I work at a high school, and Ollie, the way that I talk, I can't promote it because I'll get fucking fired and lose my blue card straight away. But and then from there, and then we got we thought, it'd be a weekly podcast just about rugby league. We'll talk everything rugby league. We got Dano on for 1 week, and I was like, holy shit, this kid knows a shitload about rugby league as well. And I think 3 of us would be perfect, because we'll bounce off each other real well, and then I can kind of work the logistics, like the computer side of things, kind of like Joe Rogan's Young Jamie, just and then we can get another, when we get guests on, then there's 4 of us, and I wanted it to be like a not so much always full on rugby league, but also a lifestyle / rugby league / we're bagging each other out, and that's how it started. And we're starting to push on average over 1,000 streams a week now. And it's going great, and these boys keep coming around, so I'll keep recording when they're coming around. And it's great. It's boys like you, and they just keep asking questions that we think we should keep doing it. So it's fucking fun. Usually I'm fucking loaded, but
you can see you and the boys putting them back gradually as the podcast goes on.
100%. I need to start like putting it in like a coffee mug or something, so it doesn't always look like I'm drinking beers so fast. But and then I'll throw my dick jokes in there now and again when I think Righty's going on off too much of a tangent where no one knows what the fuck he's talking about, when he's talking about Division 4 like game under 13. So but it's just hopefully it's a good listen, and we're going to keep doing it until we get no listens. So
well, that's awesome, man. The one thing that I really love about you guys, and another podcast called Footy and Frothies, who they're based here in Penrith. In the past couple of weeks, I've actually gone down to the pub, usually over Wednesday night, while they record, and I'm not always on it, but I'm just there with the boys. It's literally just a few mates sort of sitting around. Well, with us here, it's at a pub. With you guys, it's at your house in that room there, having a few drinks and just chewing the fat, having a chat about footy. It's a real talk, whereas like a lot of the podcasts, and it's completely fine. Like hell, when I usually do interviews and stuff, it's a lot more structured and whatever. But I just really like how unique it is. You guys are, where it's just having a chat, but you pretty much, you've got the camera there, but it's not like you're really presenting to the camera or anything. You're just having a chat, and that's what I really like. And the guests you guys have been getting lately been awesome. Obviously, a few of your mates, a few of your teammates, like Keen and Yayi, Mitch Buckets, who of course he's the champion of the beer skull competition that he's got going on.
He's still got the 3 seconds and 20 seconds, and 0.20 skull. So yeah, and Buckets, mate. Buckets is he was a good Queensland Cup player too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've also had a few ex NRL players on, a couple as well. Most recently, Jaral Yayi.
Yeah, Jaral, and we've had
Dave Miles.
Yeah, Milesy.
Yeah,
Milesy's come on. I think we're lining up a few in the future. So we're hopefully lining up Jack Reed and
awesome.
and then obviously I'm trying to get Matty Gillette on here too. So but yeah, just boys that want to come. But we've got the funner ones that when we get those Q Cup boys on. So I've got a couple of more Q Cup boys because they're usually more free spoken. But just anyone, and we tell it to anyone who wants to come on, have a fucking chinwag, just jump on because we're keen for it.
That's awesome. Well, after this is all over, I'm going to have to work something out. I've got a bit of money saved up because me and my girlfriend were going to go on a holiday this year, but I think I'm going to have to invest it in a trip up there to Brisbane. I'm sure she'd love that, man. And I'll come on the podcast.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, Freedy, thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
Honestly, you're an awesome bloke. I absolutely love your podcast with the boys. I can't plug it enough. As you can see down there, guys, on the screen, Any Given Monday on YouTube, Any Given Monday podcast on Facebook, just Any Given Monday on Apple and on Spotify, and on Instagram, you're at Kristian Freed and Any Given Monday AUS. Any plugs, anything you want to shout out, man? It's on you.
Mate, just Any Given Monday podcast. Obviously shouting out Maroon Mentality from the Bergs. That book just dropped forward like 4 or 5 days ago. So get involved in that. It's a fucking awesome read about the contents page just has all the players that he's interviewed and stuff like that. So you can even just skip to the ones that you love and then read the rest later. I want to shout out Brick Lane Brewery who support us. But I got for you, Ollie, I just had a couple of questions, mate.
Of course.
Yeah, for you with because you're such a young dude, and it just intrigues me. Like, why are you so passionate about rugby league, mate?
Like ever since I was growing up, I don't know. I've always been a shit player. I played till under 12s, and I was absolute garbage. I'll be the first one to say that. I mean, in attack, I was average. In defense, I was pretty much a turnstile. I always sort of found like I loved the game, but I didn't necessarily like playing it. So growing up, I was just reading like rugby league encyclopedias and shit like that. And it got to a point where, I don't know, I'd always wanted, people have said to me, because through those encyclopedias and that, I had, I guess, a bit of a better knowledge of the game than most people around me. Nowhere near like Righty or like any proper rugby league fans. They've got me covered, but I don't know. A lot of people said, you should get into something like, I don't know, aim to be a commentator one day or something, or a journalist. So when I was like 16, I started up Rugby League in My Opinion, got that going. And for like a year, I had like 100 likes. I was posting like once every 6 months. And I thought to myself one night, look, I'm going to have a proper go at this, one post a day. I held myself to it, and here we are, 12,000 likes later, which is pretty awesome. Then, at uni, I'm doing a Bachelor of Communication, which is journalism. So I'm looking to get a proper degree in it. And I've been lucky enough since January, I've been doing paid work, daily articles for Everything Rugby League. And I'm not like an interviewer for Everything Rugby League, but one night, I don't know, I just thought I'll shoot my shot, messaged players and that, and since then I've gotten a few interviews done, and I've gotten to know people like yourself, Righty, etc. through that. So that's been awesome. So I'm gonna keep going at that and see where it goes. So that's pretty much me. That's why I'm I guess passionate about rugby league, as you said, man.
It's great, man. And Ollie, is Titans your team or?
Yes, they are. You know what? I went just then. I went to do my ashamed yes, but we're above you blokes on the ladder at the moment, above Brisbane. Right. So I'm proud.
Shit. Yeah,
I'm proud.
And you're getting our boy next year. So fuck me.
I hope see, here's the thing. A lot of people are saying, oh, they could make the top 8 next year. And that I do think we need someone in that back line. Hey, like, we've got a top 8 forward pack, like as Brisbane do, I reckon, you know, Haas and Fafita alone, but obviously you can see where they're currently at. And they sort of scraped into the top 8 last year even then. So I feel like the Titans do need – I think they'll go all right next year, but I still don't think top 8 until they get that half or that creative player. So, yeah, look, I would ask you about Brisbane, but I'll direct people to the Any Given Monday podcast so they can hear tangents. Otherwise, we'd be here all night, man.
Oh, exactly, bro. Exactly, mate. But yeah, mate, Ollie, appreciate it, bro. And whenever you need me, reach out for sure.
Cheers, man. Same here. See you later.
Yeah, sweet. See you, Ollie. Talk to you soon, mate.